Good morning, and thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup. I'm Neeraj Shah. It's Monday morning, and remember, it's a week that is doesn't have too many global data points, save for the big one on Friday, on the weekend, or at the Thursday, Friday, which is the Jackson Hole Symposium. Though, so therefore, global weakness kind of playing in without too many cues. First, the news flow. Nasdaq fell for a fourth consecutive day, but the Dow ended flat, which is a good part, and the futures as of now are steady. Bitcoin, though, broke below the $26,000 mark, posted the worst week since May. Wheat has risen after a series of drone strikes in Russia over the weekend. And in other news from an India perspective and corporate perspective, is big news that the Murugappa Group has said that a dispute between the family branches have been settled. This is a big standing large group in South India and a lot of listed stocks. And now they're saying that the disputes have been settled, which is actually a really good sign. So that's the news flow now. The US markets, like I said, NASDAQ was certainly in the red, but the Dow ended marginally in the green, which is not a bad sign. And like I said, the futures are trading okay, but the yields continue to be an issue. 4.26, 4.27, yes, 4.27, and the dollar index too, 103.29. So almost as if the last 1.5 months we did nothing and came back to the levels that we were there maybe 2 months ago. Um, the gift Nifty indicates a flattish start maybe, and that is to be anticipated, 0.09%. So doesn't matter. It's right in the cluster of supports, the Nifty really. Let's wait and watch if it kind of finds one. So what happened on Friday? The Nifty declined 55 odd points to close at 19,310. The broader indices ended negative. The Nifty Mid Cap 100 was down 0.21%. The small cap index was down 0.53%. And the Nifty PSU Bank actually gained the most despite the fact that PNB was overall the top loser in the Nifty 100. But PSU banks, like I said, continue to find favor. In fact, it's a telling statistic, viewers, that since November 2020, or yeah, let's get out of this plate. But since November 2020, you'll be surprised, I was, the Nifty PSU Bank Index has actually done better than the Nifty private banks. It's quite a telling statistic. We all ignored, as so many people have ignored PSU banks saying, oh, they can't do well, the private banks will do well. As an index, the PSU bank index has actually done much better. Some bit of these details are in the note written by Dr. C.K. Narayan in the weekly newsletter that he writes for us. I've, of course, gotten that statistic from that very note, excuse me, but it's a statistic worth noting. So what's the trade setup therefore on a day like this? Indices have been falling for 4 consecutive weeks now, which is a mild negative sign. The highest put OI is at 19,300 strike, which is immediately the support that we are at, and it remains the key support level to be watched out for. And I've been saying that it's not a market to go short on, and somehow we've fallen. We've not cracked. Therefore, I don't think short people have made too much of money. But while quant indicators do indicate that it's time to accumulate, many smart investors that I speak to have been raising cash levels as well. So, it's I mean, different kinds of investors, of course, and the people who are raising cash levels might also, find it difficult. It might to perform. It may well happen that some of their stocks have done so well that they're booking profits in those respective names and raising cash levels to benefit from a potential market fall. But I have no idea. My limited point is all indicators that I look at point towards that this is not the time to go leverage short. Who knows? Metals remain a sore spot. They remain a sore spot in Friday's session as well and might continue to do so, uh, failing China's, unless China kind of gives a stimulus of sorts, because that growth numbers out there are looking very, very wobbly. However, if you look at specific pockets, infra and cap good stocks are still the ones in play. It's a big day today. From a Geo Financial Services perspective, list today the derived price of 262 rupees per share implies valuation of core book at 1.9 times price to book. Now, it'll be interesting to see how it lists. And at 10 a.m. today on Talking Point, we have Abhay Agarwal, who, as I've spoken to him over the weekend, has done some serious amount of work on Geo Financial Services. So when you log into Talking Point today, We will discuss the Geo Financial Services listing and how should people look at it from an individual perspective as well. So keep that in mind. Now, stocks to watch in the session today. Actually, so just before we get to stocks to watch, here's my limited point. When it comes to Geo Financial Services, everybody's talking about it. I think people expect that over time that stock will do well. Uh, it'll be difficult to call it out right now as to what will happen to that stock today. But like I said, if you want some answers, and if you were wanting some answers from me right now on JFS, um, I would recommend, or I would request, that try and log in at 10 a.m. wherein we've somebody who's looked at it closely, and therefore there are two people, one from an interviewer angle who has looked at it closely, one from somebody who invests has looked at it closely, and therefore there'll be a better response to what would happen to JFS. So please keep that in mind. Stocks to watch today. Gujarat Gas plus the ceramic tile players, because Gujarat Gas has increased the price for ceramic customers in Morbi by 2 rupees per SCM to about 40 rupees, 40.5 rupees per SCM. Now, this is the first hike since October 2022. This naturally would be constructive for Gujarat Gas and will help the stock. I reckon this will also be negative for some of the ceramic tile players. So do watch out for the Kacharyas and some of the others uh, opposing cues for both of those. So, but this is an important pocket to monitor. Then the news around Titan, it'll buy about 27%, 27.18% stake in Carrot Lane from founder for 4,621 crores. This will raise the company's total stake in Carrot Lane from 71.09% to 98.28%. Now, just before I get to my alert, which is important here, but here's the deal, something that you might not know, and I got to know it from somebody, so I thought I'll bring it to you. When Titan invested in this piece for the first time, Carrot Lane for the first time in 2016, they invested in it, had a 576 crore valuation. From there, Carrot Lane is now 17,000 crores. That is some value creation, isn't it? Quite something. 17,000 crores. That's some serious wealth creation that has happened there. And imagine the initial investment was 576, or Carrot Lane promoters sold the initial stake at 576 crores. The final stake they sold at 8 times that initial stake valuation. Quite something. And the overall business valuation, of course, as I said, multiplied. Now the other thing is, viewers, it's not as important news for Titan to my mind as it is for what it means for the upper end discretionary stocks. Because for FY23, the turnover of Carrot Lane was 2,177 crores, which values the company at 7.8 times FY23 sales. That is quite something. It just shows how few an assets actually there might be there, or just that Titan has comfort with this not maybe the benchmark valuation. But if Titan was willing to play this one, and Titan is a smart company per se, well, a lot of other upper discretionary stocks might be in focus. So we'll try and talk to some of these over the next few days, the Ethos, the Landmark Cars, the Sula Vineyards, and try and figure out what is happening at the upper end of the spectrum. Adani Ports is in focus. GQG Partners has acquired an additional 2.2 million shares, raising stake to over 5% at 5.03. And now, GQG has bought stakes in all of these Adani Group stocks in the recent times. So this doesn't surprise, but it is a shot in the arm for Adani Ports. You have to keep that in mind. A standard disclaimer, of course, the Adani Group via Adani Media Networks, AMG Media, that is, sorry, currently owns 14% and has ended an MOU for acquiring the remaining stake. And Quintil Business Media will become a wholly owned subsidiary of AMNL. And that is the platform on which you are watching this broadcast. Just that standard disclaimer. KC International has secured new orders worth 1,000 crores, 1,007 crores. Maybe the stock reacts a bit. PNB Housing Finance has recovered corporate non-performing account worth 784 crores. This should help the stock sentiment today, I reckon. Deere's, the global escort tractor major shares slid about 5.3% on Friday because investors question how will some of the tractor sales continue. And this might be true in a global context, maybe in Indian context, it might be not. But because Deere shares slid 5.3% on Friday, It may have an impact on M&M as well as the Squats Kubota, so do watch out for that. ONGC's got on a 3-year extension to explore South China Sea oil block, so that stock could be in focus. Since we are talking about consumer discretionary, I thought the MK note on consumer discretionary and takeaways from the investor conference was interesting. They say that unlike QSR and apparel, which are facing growth moderation, discretionary categories of electronics and jewelry are growing in excess of 20%, explains the Carrot Lane transaction. Their observation is that the mid-cap regional players at Electronics, Smarts, and Aditya Vision are outpacing national players in their geographical space with good unit economics. As with Dixon and Amber, those retailers are outdoing OEMs on growth and profitability. Then they say that Senco Gold, like peers, continues to see robust footfalls and transactions and expects a bright festive season. So just some dope on consumer discretionary. Then amongst brokerage notes, viewers, I haven't given that note maybe, but what stood out for me uh, amongst other notes is this note from Jeffries on the graphite electrode majors. So they say that decarbonization is a medium-term catalyst. They say that they have retained a buy uh, onto these stocks, and they have upped the target price and the target multiple for both uh, HEG and graphite. I think 515 and 2170. So on HEG, it's a buy. The target price is 2170 from 1460. On Graphite India, it's a buy with the target price raised to 515 from earlier target price of 420. So keep that in mind. They're saying that they are export-oriented plays, benefiting from the rising adoption of EAF. HEG's Q1 beat the Jeffries estimates as well. But beyond the near-term hiccups, decarbonization is a strong catalyst. EAF production by 2030 could rise by 100 million metric ton, entailing potential demand of 200 kmt for electrodes. So they like these stocks. So do watch out for uh, Graphite India and HEG as well. Those are a few that I thought were important. Maybe they've missed some, so please excuse me for that. But thanks so much for tuning in to the trade setup. At 10 a.m. today on Talking Point, Abhay Agarwal of Piper Serica, and we'll talk about JFS in detail. By the way, my colleagues Alex and Hiral at 8:30 will talk to somebody on JFS listing as well. So we'll give you some dope pre-market and a lot of very interesting dope post-market on JFS. So that's to be watched out for. By the way, with Abhay, it won't be just about JFS, it'll be lots more. RC Bhargava of Maruti Suzuki on BQ Conversations at 12:30. It's a conversation that you can't afford to miss. Lots of conversations with him on autos and Maruti. So do try and tune in for that as well. And yep, the usual trade talk conversations at 11 and 3:15 as well. Thanks so much for tuning in to the trade setup today. Have a great week ahead.